As a longtime fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, I find myself both intrigued and perplexed by the developments in the Rings of Power. The revelations about the Dark Books, Wizard and Tom Bombadil, have certainly added layers to the story that were not present in the original books. As a dedicated fan of Middle-earth, I must share some insights about the latest revelations from the Lord of the Rings of Power. In this captivating series, we've finally been introduced to Tom Bombadil, but with a few creative twists that set it apart from J.R.R. Tolkien's original depiction. As a devoted reader of J.R.R. Tolkien's epic, I can confidently say that Tom Bombadil is one of my cherished characters within his masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings. Among the few books from this series that were actually published by Tolkien himself during his lifetime, this character stands out as a cornerstone of his Lord of the Earth Rings universe. Following Tolkien's demise, it was his son Christopher who took up the mantle to publish much of the rest of his legendarium. In a departure from J.R.R. Tolkien's original work, the character Tom Bombadil from the Rings of Power saved a character called the Stranger from a sentient tree named Old Man Ironwood. This scene was not present in the books. However, it brought to mind a scene from The Lord of the Rings where Tom rescued hobbits Merry and Pippin from another sentient tree known as Old Man Willow. Unlike Old Man Willow, who is a willow tree in the Old Forest, Old Man Ironwood could not be directly adapted as the Rings of Power established Tom Bombadil in Rune. Nevertheless, it managed to preserve the essence of Bombadil's character arc from the books through the use of Old Man Ironwood. And also viewers who expect an exact replica of Tolkien's stories in this adaptation may find themselves disappointed due to a significant shift in the character Tom's location. He's now in Rune instead of the Old Forest. However, for those eager to see Bombadil make his screen debut, even with a narrative not strictly adhering to the canonical, this could be viewed as the show's dedication to bringing the Lord of the Rings to life. Given its need to navigate the complexities and adaptations required to tell tale of Middle-earth's Second Age, this is a challenging narrative to follow in a TV series, and viewers may not fully grasp it until the show concludes. As a film enthusiast, I find myself captivated by Tom Bombadil, a character from The Lord of the Rings, who possesses an enigmatic power that transcends wood, water, and the hill. In the story, he's often referred to as the Master of the Elements, but his control over fire is left ambiguous. In the book, Tom Bombadil never managed to light multiple candles with a single flame, hinting at powers beyond our comprehension. Yet there's something magical about him that makes many more candles ignite simply by his magical presence, a mystery not fully explained in the tale. And in episode 4, Tom Bombadil, who was typically associated with his dwelling in the Old Forest, was temporarily separated from his canonical home. In this episode, his ability to manipulate wood, water, and hills, as well as his overall power within his realm, were highlighted. This showcased Tom's strength and maintained the sense of awe surrounding him, prevented the potential misconception that he could be weak or powerless outside the Old Forest. A feeble Tom Bombadil would not truly embody the character we know from the book. In episode 4 of season 2 from The Lord of the Rings of Power, Tom sang "Sandflies in the grass, bees around the willow." This line wasn't part of J.R.R. Tolkien's original work, but was included amidst other lyrics. This scene featuring Tom Bombadil singing added a touch of lightness to the otherwise grim storyline, mirroring his role in The Lord of the Rings. It seems that Tom continues to serve as a source of humor in the Rings of Power as well. It was delightful to see the Rings of Power accurately portray Bombadil with his original lines from Lord of the Rings. And this consistency was largely maintained in Tom's singing throughout episode 4, save for one instance. The alteration in Tom's song about sandflies seemed to be the sole musical departure from the established lore, but it subtly acknowledged the Rings of Power's unique take on the character Tom. In the series, Tom is a desert dweller singing of sand, contrasting with the book's Tom, who only sank of woods. In the epic tale of Lord of the Rings, Tom Bombadil was known for his distinctive attire, sporting a vibrant blue jacket paired with boots that were yellow in all the original narrative. However, in the adaptation, Tom's boots appeared to lean more towards the color ochre, which is a shade similar to yellow. Ochre is indeed a type of yellow and aligns well with Bombadil art and the show's overall palette and costume design. In Rings of Power, and as described in Lord of the Rings, Bombadil donned a blue coat and a hat weathered with time respectively. The Tolkien-esque detail was then maintained by giving Bombadil ruddy cheeks on screen, which helped to tie him closely to the original story. The boots worn by Bombadil in the show were one of the less substantial alterations made, but some might argue that they could have been a tad yellower. And in the series Rings of Power, Tom Bombadil appears to have a land named Iron. But it's important to note that this isn't consistent with the version of Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings. In fact, in Lord of the Rings, Gandalf refers to Tom as Iron Ben Otter, oldest and fatherless. This suggests that Tom himself is referred to as Earwain Benadar, rather than having a lamb with this name. However, it's not clear whether or not this inconsistency means that Tom doesn't use the name Earwain in Rings of Power, but if he does, it seems more like an Easter egg than a shift in established lore. The show has yet to delve into the origins of Tom's numerous nicknames. It is possible that his creatures carry one of his names, be it bestowed by Tom or himself, Goldberry, or another character. The animals portrayed in the show serve to reinforce Tom's image as a nurturing figure who tenderly cultivates and safeguards the land. One significant alteration in the portrayal of Tom Bombadil from the Rings of Power is his relocation from the old forest to Rhûn, where he dwelled in the book. So in the Lord of the Rings, Tom was guardian of his domain and resistant to venturing beyond it. When faced with leaving his territory, he stated, as is his custom, "Beyond Tom's borders lies no welcome. He will not cross them." In the Rings of Power, Tom departed from his home to explore the ominous darkness threatening nature in Rhûn. As Azarian of nature in the Lord of the Rings, this motivation, at least, remains consistent with his original character. It's hard to say if Tom's love for nature and his reluctance to venture beyond his territory would have prevailed against the threat of Rhûn, as it remains speculative. However, Gandalf's statement that Tom will not step beyond his boundaries hints at a potential answer. Interestingly, the show delves into an earlier version of Tom than the one in Lord of the Rings, implying that Tom may have traveled in the past. Gandalf's words, "Now he is withdrawn into a little land," suggest that Tom behaved differently before this time. In the Lord of the Rings book, Tom Bombadil's wisdom only stretched to the edges of his domain, the old forest. However, it appeared that he was also active beyond these borders in Rhûn, as shown in the series. In the book, Tom himself admitted, "Beyond east my knowledge fades. I am not the master of the riders from the Black Land, far beyond my land." Yet in the Rings of Power, Tom was present in regions east of his domain, and still seemed just as wise as he did in the book. Granted, Tom's statement in the book was generic reference to his knowledge of the goings-on of the Eastern lands, and doesn't mean he could never
attain this knowledge. Tom clearly traveled to Rune many years ago in the show, giving him time to acclimatize. But whatever the case may be, Tom's magical foresight and powers were certainly in the full swing in Rings of Power.
In J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, Goldberry was portrayed as Tom Bombadil's wife, a character beloved by readers for her mystical, river-bound nature. She was depicted as a divine presence, exuding beauty and harmony with the water. In contrast, the adaptation Rings of Power suggests that she is shy or reserved, as Tom allegedly refers to her off-screen in this matter, but she herself does not appear on screen. It appears that Goldberry's shy nature might be too significant a plot point to remain unexplained in the series The Rings of Power. Given Goldberry's symbolic significance in the series Lord of the Rings, it seems unlikely the show would let this aspect go unaddressed in the second season of The Rings of Power, but the enigmatic Dark Wizard caused quite a stir, and an equally surprising revelation followed. Tom Bombadil had previously interacted in the window with him and offered guidance. This has led some fans to speculate that the shadowy figure could be one of the blue wizards mentioned in the lore. Since not of the Istari, which includes Saruman, the blue wizards, and Gandalf were present during the Second Age, and Tolkien's writings offer conflicting details about the political affiliations of blue wizards, the identity of the Dark Wizard remains unclear. However, certain sources hint that the blue wizards might have formed their own secretive cult in the eastern regions, and this is a pattern the Dark Wizard seems to have followed as well. In the series The Rings of Power, it's been suggested that Tom Bombadil offered guidance to both a mysterious character and a dark sorcerer. While the enigmatic nature of these characters makes their identities uncertain, many fans believe that one of them might be Gandalf. Interestingly, in the Lord of the Rings storyline, Tom Bombadil did not provide the counsel to either a blue wizard or Gandalf. This potential difference in interactions between Tom and these characters in the Rings of Power could make his advice significant. The dark sorcerer turns out to be a blue wizard, and the mysterious character is indeed Gandalf. In The Lord of the Rings, Tom Bombadil maintained a neutral stance, refraining from involvement in the War of the Ring, yet he subtly encouraged the stranger's confrontation with Sauron. During this epic, Elrond proposed that Tom Bombadil's immense power made him a potential participant, and the council convened to discuss the fate of the One Ring. However, Gandalf stated that he would not have attended if he had been invited. In one of his letters, J.R.R. Tolkien described Tom Bombadil as embodying a, quote, peaceful perspective. It's important to note that pacifism can range from extreme to moderate, and Tom Bombadil's demonstrated both peaceful and protective behaviors in the Lord of the Rings storyline. For instance, he saved the hobbits from Barrow-wights and armed them with swords. Thus, Tom Bombadil's character is complex and presents a challenge for adaptation in the show. Regardless of personal opinions, Tom will continue to croon his melodies throughout The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power, Season 2, whether he appears on screen or not,